Welcome back. It is Friday, which means we are at another episode of FNL Fridays. This episode is episode 4. I am your host, Teresa. I am a personal trainer, a healthy lifestyle coach, fitness nutrition specialist, author, and creator of the FNL Journal. Today, we are talking Nutrition 101. For anyone who's been watching this channel, you know that FNL stands for Fitness, Nutrition, and Lifestyle. And those are the topics that I'm going to cover in my videos. So I wanted to start out with the basics of nutrition because this is video 4, so we are just getting started. For those of you who don't know too much about nutrition, I'm here to help you. So today I'm going to tell you about the basics of nutrition, including macronutrients and micronutrients. And don't worry if you don't know what those are, because I'm going to tell you. Water, why it's so important for our bodies, and the roles that all of these play, and why it's so important to have a well-rounded diet. Every food that you eat is made up of something called macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients are made up of protein, carbohydrates, fat, and water, whereas micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. The reason that they're called macronutrients is because you need them in large amounts, whereas micronutrients you only need in very small amounts. As long as you're eating a well-rounded diet of all the colors of the rainbow, different types of foods, making sure you're eating a lot of whole, fresh foods, you probably are covering all your bases with micronutrients, so you probably don't really have to worry about those too much. But you do want to make sure you're getting all the macronutrients that you want. The 4 macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, fat, and water. So if you look at any nutrition label of any food, you should see a breakdown of all the information about the ingredients and the macronutrients. Now, water you won't actually see on there because it's a liquid and it's not really what makes up the food. It doesn't have calories to it. You won't see water on there, but you will see proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. And within those, a lot of times those are broken down even more into what type of fat and what types of carbohydrates. So are there sugars? Is it fiber? You probably have seen this before. Protein is essentially what your body uses to build, maintain, and repair tissue. So when you think about your organs and your muscles, that's the main role of protein. Protein has 4 calories per gram, and you would find it in any animal-based products. You can also find it in plenty of non-animal-based products like beans, tofu, tempeh, seitan, legumes, nut butters, seeds, things like that. So there are plenty of places that you can get protein that don't necessarily come from animal sources. Another thing you might think of when you see protein is your workouts, right? So protein is very important if you are a fit person, if you do work out a lot, if you're working on building muscle, you definitely want to make sure you're getting enough protein in your diet. So that's why a lot of times after someone works out, you might see them eat a protein shake. Drink a protein shake. As for carbohydrates, carbohydrates are your body's primary source of fuel. So carbohydrates break down the fastest out of the 3 macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats. They break down the fastest, and your body really likes these for really quick energy. So that's why it's great to have carbohydrates right before and right after a workout or activity that you need a lot of quick energy. So if you were about to work out, it would be good to have maybe a piece of fruit or a glass of juice, or maybe even some bread or some candy. Now, of course, you shouldn't eat this right before your workout, at least 30 minutes before. But what that's going to do is that's going to break down into sugar, essentially, and that's going to flood your blood with sugar, and that's going to go into your muscles while you're working out. So it's going to give you energy while you're working out. Then right after your workout, after your muscles are depleted of all that sugar, they want more of it because they want to fill it back up. So it's a good time right after your workout to have carbohydrates as well as protein, because again, after a workout, you've broken down a lot of the muscle tissue in your body. So your body wants amino acids, aka protein, to rebuild that muscle tissue, and then that sugar from the carbohydrates to get the glucose back into your body. Fats are maybe the most misunderstood macronutrient. They have 9 calories per gram, whereas protein and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. So they are higher in calorie per gram, but they're really essential for your body. Fats help with hormone regulation. They help keep us full. They protect us in times of starvation, which luckily many of us will never have to deal with, but it is a role that they play. So all the fat on your body is basically stored there in case you ever need it. They also help give foods a better flavor. They make things more savory, and they also make things much more satiating, so kind of satisfying. They curb your appetite longer. Fats also are the slowest macronutrient to break down. So imagine if you ate a really heavy meal that was really greasy, maybe had a lot of cheese or beef or something that was really fatty, right? That's going to hold you over a lot longer than something like a bowl of pasta with tomato sauce on it, because that doesn't have much fat in it, whereas something greasy has a lot of fat, and that's going to break down much slower in your body than carbohydrates and protein would. Fats are really, really good for when you need longer sustained energy. So an example that I like to use is, and this is a real life example, if you're maybe going to go for a long hike, or you know that you're going to be out all day and you're not going to come home or have time to go eat, that's when I would make sure you're eating a good amount of fat, because that's going to break down slowly and that's going to keep you from going hungry for a longer amount of time than proteins or carbohydrates would. Onto water. Water is super essential for your body, and like 90% of us are probably not drinking enough water. I'm sure there's a real statistic out there, but I'm going to say 90%. Water is super important because, for one, your body is made up of approximately 60% water. So like, take a second and think about that. When we look at ourselves, we probably don't think water everywhere, but it is. 60% of our body is made up of water. You need water for so many reasons. It helps you regulate your temperature. It helps lubricate your joints. It helps with your blood volume to make sure your blood volume is what it should be. It helps transport things through your body. It helps us with performance, mental and physical. So if you've ever been dehydrated, you might notice that, for one, you're not physically performing as well. Maybe you're playing a sport and you just get super tired, you're fatigued. Or maybe you didn't drink water all day and you've just been, sipping coffee and Monster energy drinks and stuff. And then you realize that your brain is just like, you're not retaining information, you can't recall stuff, you're just slow. And that could be because you are dehydrated. A really simple amount of water to shoot for is half of your body weight in ounces. So for example, if you weigh 150 pounds, half of that would be 75. You would shoot for 75 ounces of water per day. Personally, I try to drink a gallon of water a day. Most days I don't, but I try to. That is 128 ounces of water. So that's on the very high end. I think pretty much anybody, if you're drinking a gallon of water a day, you're good. You don't have to worry about drinking any more than that. Honestly, even a half a gallon for most people is more than they're already drinking. So even if you started with shooting for a half a gallon, 64 ounces, I think that would be a really great place to start. Overall, when you think about your diet, and when I say diet, I don't mean a restrictive diet. I mean literally every single thing that you eat makes up your diet. When you think about your diet, I want you to make sure that you're getting all three of the macronutrients and plenty of water. So a really easy way to make sure you're doing this is basically in every meal, just aim for getting a little bit of each macronutrient. So a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of fat. Now, of course, different situations are going to call for different macronutrients. So like I mentioned before, right before your workout, it's ideal to have carbohydrates because you need that quick energy. Right after your workout, it's ideal to have a mix of protein and carbohydrates. Personally, I also like to have fats at night because that holds me over through the night while I'm sleeping so I don't wake up hungry. It's kind of up to you for what works for you, but especially if you are an athlete or someone who is really interested in optimal performance, then I would suggest carbohydrates before your workout, protein and carbohydrates right after. Making sure as you build your meals throughout the day to just kind of check in and think about what foods you can put into your menu so that you're getting all of them. Quick recap of which foods contain which macronutrients. Protein is found in pretty much all animal sources, but it's also found in soy, tempeh, seitan, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, and tofu, if I didn't already say that one. Carbohydrates are found in anything with sugar. So natural sources would be things like fruits, honey, table sugar, maple syrup, agave, any kind of candy is probably going to have a lot of sugar in it. And then there's also starchy carbs, which are complex carbohydrates. And that would be things like potatoes, brown rice, and whole grains, because those chemically are a longer structure, so they take longer to break down. And personally, I would recommend most of your carbs coming from complex carbohydrates and minimizing the amount of simple sugars that you're getting. So minimizing, any sort of table sugar, honey, agave, maple syrup, and getting most of your simple sugars just from actual fruit, if possible. And fats are found in any sort of oils. If you're eating, well, hopefully you're not eating pure oil, but if you are, any oil is completely fat. There's no protein in it and there's no carbohydrates in it. So it is just fat. But there are other things like avocados, nuts, and seeds, which are primarily fat, but also do contain some carbohydrates and occasionally some protein as well. So any sort of oils, nuts, seeds, avocado, coconut, that gives you just a general idea of where you can find fats. So moral of the story, protein, carbs, and fats are the three macronutrients. Within them, they all contain micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals. You want to make sure you're eating all three macronutrients, plenty of water, and that you are getting those macros in all of your meals throughout the day. So making sure you're getting protein, carb, and fat every day within your meals. That is it. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next Friday. P.S. If you want to learn more about macronutrients and also get an actual shopping list that I've made that lists out a ton of different foods that are protein, a ton of different foods that are carbs, and a ton of foods that are fats, I have that on the FNL Health website. So you can download that for free. So just go to fnlhealth.com and you will see a little pop-up. And when you sign up for it, you will get that emailed directly to you. So if you want to learn more about macronutrients, just go to fnlhealth.com and get your free copy.